Good morning again. And I add my happy Father's Day to all of you who do any fathering, holding, loving, taking care of people. And I want to thank Pastor Jennifer for this invitation to be here with you all today. I hope you treasure her and your staff. Please join me in prayer. O Holy One, whom we call by many names and know in many ways, I pray that these words I share will remind us of how blessed we are to have some freedom and inspire us to continue to work for collective liberation as we work on our own liberation. Give us the curiosity, the courage, the compassion, and the willingness to collaborate to make this so. Amen. Amen. So when we generally think and talk about freedom, we most often talk about it from an individual or a personal context, right? Even when you look up the definitions of freedom, the descriptions are generally from an individual perspective. In the dictionary, things like freedom, the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants, without hindrance or restraint, without fear or coercion. Freedom, the absence of necessity, coercion, constraint, choice of action for oneself. Liberation from slavery or from the power of another over you. Being free when we can live in a way that allows us to be true to ourselves and to express our individuality. The United States Constitution's First Amendment protects 5 fundamental freedoms: freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, and the freedom of petition. And then we have a whole nother list of civil rights related to the Bill of Rights, which include things like the right to bear arms, the right to privacy and security, the right to due process and equal protection, the right to vote, the right to equal employment opportunities, the right to fair housing, the right to public education, protection from discrimination, and due process and equal protection under the law. How many of us have been in the streets marching for some of this stuff at some point in time in our lives? Amen. And thank you. And we have rights on top of rights, depending on which founding document you look at. And it all sounds good on paper. But most of us know that in reality, a lot of what we experience depends on who you are and what your identities are as a person are within this caste system of the United States of America. We have never had equality or equity in this nation. And if we are going to be honest, these rights have been and are being eroded and reshaped continuously, depending on who holds what power within our government since these laws were voted in 1791. And some people may feel that things are all well and good, but many of us who live here do not feel that we are free or protected by our own government as citizens. And this grieves my heart. As I was reflecting on preparing for this message, I started to notice how there's a thread of the holidays that we celebrate throughout the summer. There's a thread that has to do with freedom and liberation in each of these holidays when you start to think about it, right? So we start the unofficial summer with Memorial Day, right? And on this day, we remember those who have been liberated from these earthly bodies, right? We remember our ancestors who have crossed over into the realms and circumstances depending on what we believe. We remember their legacies and their love if we were blessed enough to have received some from them. Many people remember those who have served in the armed forces. That's something that's often lifted up on Memorial Day. And we may not support the wars that they fought in or even support war, but we do have to be grateful for the sacrifices of the people who are willing to put their lives on the line for us and others for freedom around the world. And we also remember those who serve in the public in any way, right? Our police officers, our firefighters, our health workers, our frontline people who take care of us every day in various ways, who are often taken for granted. And coming up is Juneteenth Day. You've already heard some wonderful things about Juneteenth Day, also known as Emancipation Day, Freedom Day, Jubilee Day. President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863. The proclamation declared that all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states are and henceforward shall be free. But it was June 19, 1865, when the people who were enslaved in Galveston, Texas, finally learned that they were free. And it wasn't until that date that the proclamation was actually enforced. Juneteenth has been celebrated by people of African descent since the late 1800s, but did not become a federal holiday in the United States until 2021. And Milwaukee has one of the oldest Juneteenth celebrations. So if you have not been there, go there on Thursday. You need to have that experience. What we do know is that the freedom of many people in this nation has always been conditional and a challenge. And we as African descent people are still fighting for our full freedom and rights in this nation, along with many others. And then many of us are celebrating Pride Month. All over the world, from May to November, there will be Pride celebrations. And the themes vary from place to place, but this year, Milwaukee's theme was Remember, Resist, and Rejoice. And we must remember those who have lost their lives throughout history, fighting for LGBTQIA+ lives, culture, and rights. We must remember how Hitler in 1933 began his assault on a thriving LGBTQ movement. Clubs, organizations, publications, people living their lives full, but he would not stop until he had killed and imprisoned thousands. We must remember the atrocities on this soil that have happened in events like the attack on New York's Stonewall Inn in 1969, and many more attacks since then on a yearly and daily basis, both on groups and individuals. We have to be clear that this harm begins with small things, but then it becomes very dangerous in what we see happening to our siblings. We are called to resist. We are called to solidarity as we continue to confront the lies and mistruths of our religious institutions and our other institutions. We must continue to fight alongside our siblings to stand against the authoritarian leadership that is reversing policies and laws that are harming our LGBTQIA+ community members, siblings, and friends. And in the midst of all of this, we must always rejoice at the resiliency of our family and friends who continue to fight for justice, to be seen and embraced for who they are, just as they are. And I want to say personally, I am extremely grateful for my family, my friends, and my colleagues whose witness, journey, and love have made me a better human being. Next is the 4th of July. We already see the people putting their flags up and getting things ready, right? It commemorates the ratification of the Declaration of Independence by the Second Continental Congress. On July 2nd, the legal separation from Britain occurred through the Lee Resolution. And on July 4th, 1776, the United States of America was established. In this act, Congress declared that the 13 colonies were no longer subject and subordinate to the monarch of Britain and were now united, free, and independent states. No more kings! No more kings! No more kings! No more kings! All right. The second sentence of the Declaration of Independence says we hold these truths to be self-evident. It says all men, but it meant all people, are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We are still a work in progress. We are still a work in progress. And the last summer holiday will be Labor Day, celebrated on the first Monday of September to honor and recognize the American labor movement, to honor the nation's workers and their contributions. They wanted a day set aside to make sure that we remember it was because of these workers, whether they did their work freely or were coerced, that America has strength, prosperity, and well-being. The American workers are the ones who are co-creators of much of this nation's strength, freedom, and leadership. Our unions have been busted up and disempowered. Though we say we value workers, we still refuse to pay everyone who labors a living or value-added wage and secure health benefits so that we can all share in America's prosperity. What we say and what we do does not line up so that all can experience life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We are still a work in progress. But I want to nudge you to think about freedom and liberation in this broader context. I want to invite you to reflect on what collective liberation means. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Collective liberation is the idea that multiple forms of oppression are interconnected and that people must work together to achieve freedom and justice for all. Working for collective liberation means recognizing that no one is truly free until we are all free. And it emphasizes the need for solidarity and shared responsibility in dismantling systems of oppression. In working for this collective liberation, identity matters, and we acknowledge that different forms of oppression are often intertwined and reinforced. That's why we have to work to dismantle all of it. The quotes that I lifted up for today invite us to consider that we should not only be concerned about and working to maintain our individual freedom, but we must do the same for all of us. Many of us don't realize that we are bound by chains that keep all of us from being fully liberated. One of our most insidious chains in America is racism and the caste system that we have created and maintained in this nation through white supremacy culture and thinking. And white supremacy is on a continuum. And we have to remember that. And we ain't just talking about the Ku Klux Klan over here. We're talking about the whole continuum. And every little thing, including the little white lies that are okay so that people can harm other people. This is a powerful chain because it is invisible unless you do the transformational work to unlearn all of the lies and misinformation that hold whiteness up as the best of all. This chain is wrapped around our neck as a nation and is choking us. And so many people are comfortable, so they don't want these chains to be broken. Related to those chains are comfort, ignorance, white fragility, and some of our leaders even act as if white people can't learn the truth because they can't handle the truth. So history will have to be whitewashed. Another chain around our necks is this whole idea of rugged individualism, where we think that we can be self-reliant, independent, and we pulled ourselves up by our own bootstraps and we don't need nobody else. That is a lie. We need each other. No one is an island, right? As long as we dehumanize anyone in any way, we are buying and supporting into fear. We are also chained by a scarcity mentality. In a nation with so much, a few want to keep the majority controlled and contained and believing that there is not enough, so that they will continue to have the most while many of us don't have enough. As people of faith, we must commit to breaking the chains of the theology of empire in our religious institutions, in the institutions that we know and love, and in our world today. Oh, we are not free. Don't fool yourself. So what do we do? There is a lot that must be done, right? And I don't have time to go down all the things that we can do, but here's a few things. And I know that you all are on this journey. Many of you have done a lot of your work, but I'm here to encourage you. We can't stop now, right? One of Micah's current campaigns is We All Belong. And one of our sub-themes is Building Beloved Community. It doesn't sound revolutionary, but it is. It is very hard work to build beloved community. And I want to invite you all to join us on this work. Building beloved community means you have to commit on a continual basis to being anti-racist and anti-oppressive. We must stand in solidarity with those who are oppressed. We have so many people living in fear in our nation right now because of our racism, our sexism, our heterosexism, our classism, xenophobia, you name it, we got it, right? You have to join the work and fight for equity if you want to be free. And if the rest of us fall, know that you are going to fall too, right? There has to be safety, respect, and value for all. That's what Reverend Niemöller's message is about. They are picking us off group by group. Don't think that they're not coming for you at some point. Building beloved community means breaking our collective chains. We have to do everything we can to unbind ourselves. For a nation that has so much prosperity, we are also one of the most challenged in so many ways. So many people are suffering economic hardship, low wages, job insecurity, housing affordability, geographic inequity, food insecurity, health inequity, high levels of stress, chronic illnesses, mental health challenges, loneliness, threats to our identities, destructions as living beings, destruction of all the living beings. We must fight together and for each other so that all can be well. Constantly check yourself. Check your information. Check your prejudices. Check your biases. Check your fears. We must seek truth from a range of sources and perspectives over and over again. And each one of us has that responsibility for promoting and working to celebrate diversity and equity in everything we do and say. And finally, I just encourage you to stay in the game. Stay in the game. Reassess your commitment and work for equity and justice regularly through activism, organizing. When you talk to each other, check each other. Check in with each other. See how each other is doing. It is important. It matters. And then I ask you, as a community, as a beloved community, what oppressive systems, structures, policies, practices, and procedures are you working to dismantle? Who have you added to your circle of relationships who is not like you? How often are you getting out of your comfort zone? You cannot be comfortable and do this work. And I ask you, where is your skin and where is your heart? If you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your own liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together. Ashe and amen.